We are live, Mr. Hunter. Let me quickly
Rock
check
and
the
roll.
feed. Make sure we're coming through loud and clear. Let a few viewers build up. Imagine we're sitting here and like no one turns up.
Yeah, it's 4:00 on a Friday and the pubs are open, so who knows what's going to happen.
That's
You
why
might see me randomly. You might see me like I'll give you notice, but I might jump off camera for like 30 seconds because I'm on holidays today, and we were going to go down to Brighton to just eat fish and chips and like live our lives. But it's pretty miserable weather, so we decided to stay here. And I've got some bread that I'm cooking in the oven, and it's like 22 minutes and 11 seconds from being ready. So I might just bang it out of there halfway through this chat. It's horrible timing on my part, but I was like, it'll be fine. We'll figure it out.
All I'm worried about is you're cooking it in the oven as opposed to in the microwave.
It's in the oven.
Tash is impressed that you're cooking full stop. She's like,
yeah. I love cooking. Cooking's like a form of meditation for me, because if you're cooking something particularly that's, requires a bit of thought, you can't actually do anything else. So it's like the one time you can disconnect.
Yeah, that's the one. Sam, we agree on a lot of things, my man, but that ain't one of them.
It's all right, Tash. I'll sort him out. We'll just break him down, all right?
Meditation for you and torture for me. I hate cooking. I really hate it. Food is there for one thing, that's to keep you going.
Fair enough. Food is fuel. I've
shared that link in the Power Agent because I didn't realise, right, with StreamYard, it's like way down the feed because I've scheduled it with StreamYard, but then you've got to reshare it in the group to let everyone know that you're live, I think.
This is my second ever StreamYard experience.
Oh, really? It's pretty cool.
I should get into it more.
Right, let's keep waffling because I need to make sure that its sound is on.
Cool.
Yeah. You sound sweet.
It's like extra nasally.
Let me go to my... So are you in London still at the minute, or did you actually go away?
No, we're still here. We had yesterday and today off work. And so far it's been 2 very chilled out mornings where we've just, slowly gone for walks, like just relaxed, had a bit of a lie-in. It's been really nice and needed. First time really either of us have had time off that hasn't been a Sunday or like a baby appointment at some stage. So it's been really cool. And today, weirdly, like we've lived here 5 years in 2 weeks and we've still never been to Brighton, not even for like the day or anything. So we're like, we're going to hire a car, we're going down, it's happening. And then of course it's been spectacular weather all week.
I know.
And then today it's shit. So
that's not far from me, Brighton, I'm only 35, 40 minutes from Brighton.
You're halfway there, right?
Yeah, exactly. And we're going to go away, do something next week, I think. I've got next week off. So I wanted to get this in. And we might drive my mum's camper van to, where are we going to? New Forest, not Cornwall, the New Forest. Just for a couple of nights for the kids. Yeah, it'd be well nice.
See some horses, nice trails to go walking on.
Yeah. Right. We've hit double figures. So I reckon we should
I'll take that.
Should jump straight into it. And I'm gonna ask you a question, Sam. Can self-employed agents really work the hours they want?
That depends.
No, it's can't say that.
Of course you can.
It's got to be a closed reply. Yeah, go on.
Is that a yes or no answer? Probably so it's no at the start and then maybe at the end.
That's a really
and then for a very small percentage of those agents, the answer is unequivocally yes. But I think it does depend on a few factors. All I can do and all I can give you and whoever's watching is talk about my own experience. And my experience of being a real estate agent, and I still can't help myself but call anyone that, including me, is that
I'm going to become a fake estate agent.
Fair enough.
Go on. Sorry, I interrupted you.
That's all right. I was going to say the hours that I worked at the start of my career, and you can relate this down to any form of enterprise, whether it's self-employed estate agency. If you want to be a really good employed negotiator for an independent or a large corporate, whatever it is, the secret to being really good is working your ass off. And most of the time, pun not intended, the key to working your ass off is time in the business, like time actually spent working, picking up the phone, prospecting, responding to inquiries, serving your customers. So if you see any of the bright lights out there, and there are a few lights that are shining quite brightly at the moment, whether there's any substance or not behind them, I don't know. But if you get seduced by the idea of being self-employed, it's all, you're going to earn shitloads of money, you're going to work whenever you want to work. I think that you need to caveat that in your own head first by, that might be the case, but it might take 2 or 3 years, bare minimum, to get there.
And I think that's why I wanted to do this live, right? Because, I think everyone, I'm trying to be like politically correct and shit, but I don't like being politically correct at times. I just think, and you said it too politely, but I just think there's a lot of people, companies selling a dream without the caveat. And
100%.
And the caveat needs to be eventually. That's all.
I think, if you work hard enough is the caveat, and I have interestingly, our hiring success at Home Search changed the moment that I stopped selling the dream about what we were doing, and I actually started talking to people about how genuinely hard work and in the trenches and like wading through shit life is when you are trying to build something from nothing, and everything is a new idea or a new concept or a new customer. And the idea of customer service, you can't hand somebody a process and you say, here are the 5 words that you say to make somebody happy. You've got to figure out how to make them happy with what we have. And if what we have doesn't make them happy, you've got to figure out how to change what we have to make them happy. And it's a bit like that when you start in real estate. You don't get handed a client list, You don't get handed a marketplace. You don't get handed listings. You've got to go out there and do it yourself. And the big disconnect is you don't also get handed the right skills necessarily to go out there and do it yourself. You're just promised you're going to be the wealth magnet. You're just promised that you're going to make shed loads of cash, and you're going to be driving a Mercedes and you can wear whatever you want and you work on your own times. And there are some people who hit the ground running and achieve that very quickly, but I promise you they didn't work the hours. Maybe they did work the hours they wanted to work because they worked 24/7 for 12 months to get there, and that's the thing about, I think, your question, right? You can work the hours that you want to work, for sure. It's just that the hours that you might want to work, if you want to achieve that level of success, should be 80 a week, bare minimum.
This is the problem, right? So you've hit the nail on the head there. Like the hidden message in that, can you really work the hours you want? Like, one is what do you define as work? I guess like that needs to be defined, because I genuinely don't believe that I work in property. I just happen to do property, right? And it sounds cringe, doesn't it? Like, but I can agree a sale sitting on the toilet, but I'm going to toilet. I'm not working. Like, I believe that people that dig up roads work, and they work hard, and they have to work so many hours, and they may love doing that, and they might not see that as work. But you first got to define what work is. And the other issue in my mind with this is that when people talk about, I think the modern day estate agent is not I'm working, I'm not working. It's like a real blend. It's like I'm working at 100%, I'm working at 50%. And that's all cool as well. So I'm going to go on Monday, which the kids, Tasha and I, for a lovely day. Was it this Monday or last Monday? Last Monday for down the Thames. It wasn't like my phone's off, no one call me. I just weren't setting my day plan up with this, and this. But I took a few calls from the team and a few clients whilst I'm sitting there driving down the Thames on a boat. It's
the same thing for me. Just because I'm like not working today doesn't mean I'm not working. This is a fun thing to do.
Yeah.
Will it result in work for the two of us? Of course it will. But we get to have a conversation about what actually involves. I think one of the really crucial things to remember for anybody who is employed, anybody who's getting to know you before they come into an industry, who wants to do anything, is that when you talk about real estate, when you talk about a estate agency, you're dealing with people on their time. So, and I actually stole this from you, and I've said it so many times, I'm claiming it's my own now. But
hang on, wait.
Like, work-life balance doesn't exist. It's work-life blend, right?
You stole it from who?
From you.
No, mate, I started off Royston. Carry on.
There you go. But I promise you, like one of the things when you hear something cool is if you say it 3 times and you end up believing it and living it, then it becomes yours, you know?
Yeah.
And so I talk about this with our team, but I also talk about this when we speak to agents. It's you have to have that blend, you know, because if you're unwilling to respond to a message when you're on the loo, you know, or if you're unwilling to have a chat with your mate about self-employed agency when you're having a day off that you'd not planned 4 weeks ago when we first booked this in, then can you really claim to be world-class, the best? Like, can you rest on that laurel that you've promised your client to get your 2% of I'm always going to be there, I am available, I'm the best agent that's going to pick for you, I'm going to work my ass off for you? So I would agree with you. Figure it out and define what work looks like to you, because it isn't always picking up the phone and cold calling 24/7, and it's not doing viewings 24/7, but it is building relationships and communicating and being available. And if you're not willing to do those 3 things in that order, just piss off. Like don't ruin it for the rest of us, you know?
And that, I mean, what I love about that, right? So my answer is yes, you can work the hours you want eventually. So, and because of that,
I think you're probably still always working the hours you want, because if you come in on day one and you go, I want to be the very best real estate agent in my marketplace, bar none. Then if you're not prospecting, you'll be training and you'll be learning and you'll be developing. And because you do all that and you combine that with prospecting and hard working, you'll get the listings. So then when you're not prospecting or learning, you'll be doing a viewing or you'll be giving a vendor update. And then that will compound, and then that might become a little bit more of the work that you do outside the training, but it doesn't replace that. And your prospecting will always remain the same because you've been consistent in that. You will always want, that's the key language in your question, to work those hours, you know?
And my issue comes is when you only want to work 3 days a week.
Yeah, don't do it. Genuinely, go and be a bartender. Literally work 3 days a week when the bar's open, and leave the rest of it to the people that actually want to serve their clients. You know, all you want to do is be available 3 days a week for the people that are consistently only thinking about how much is my house going to sell for? Are we going to buy the place that we want? Are we actually going to be able to move when we need to move? Will the kids get into that school? Are we going to afford this? I've just like in the next 90 days, right? How many people are going to be like, holy fuck, I've just lost my job. We need to sell our house, you know? And you're the geezer that's like, I want to make loads of money. I want to drive a nice car. I want to tell everyone I'm the best. But sorry, I can't be there for you when you need me. So, you know, but actually, if you can wait around, it's cool, you know. And I'll knock my fee off as well because, you know, I only work 3 days a week.
Here's a really interesting
better than that.
Right? Here's a really interesting one. So when I arranged this with you, right, when I asked you to do this, I thought I'll have a whole day to get prepared for it and I'll do this and that. And then I literally got off the phone call at 3:59 off a phone call. But on the back of a fag packet, as they say, you know, this morning I worked out the average time a listing takes, right, to get it from appraisal to in the bank.
Mm-hmm.
And it's really rough, right? But I'm looking at it now. What would you say it is in hours or days? And I think I've done it about right.
In any market, or now, or for the last few years?
Yeah, like about now. I mean, it's really rough, and I know so many stuff. It's like trying to work out the cost.
So is it like give me a bit more, because I think that there's probably 2 answers. One from a lead that comes to you from a PPC, a Facebook ad, or something completely cold, and that's a lead where it's like, Perry, my name's Sam Hunter. I'd like to sell my house. When can you come and see me? Versus somebody that's clicked on a piece of marketing or you've prospected and met along the way. Because I think in a market like we're in now, which is a mini boom, that would be days, you know, as in 72 hours or less from someone, I want to sell my house, and they're going to pick you or 2 others, and they're going to decide that. But from somebody that you've met and nurtured their relationship, it could be years, you know.
Well, so it's averages. I get that. But I just think it's going to twig some interesting thoughts in people's minds. So I'm going to try and share my screen. If this goes wrong and I cut off, I'm really sorry, because I've never actually shared my screen during a live web on thing. Let me share this, right? Right, that's in the feed, yeah?
I just saw Rob's comment.
Yeah, I know. Obviously had mine cut eventually. Have you had yours cut as well?
Yeah, I had like Tom Cruise Last Samurai man bun thing going. and it wasn't doing me any good on video calls or anything like that. People, even without opening my mouth and tried to sound like I knew what I was talking about, people were not taking me seriously. So I decided that for the betterment of my colleagues, I go and get my hair cut.
So check this out, right? This is really rough, and if I spend more time thinking about it, I'll be able to probably get a bit accurate. But what I thought, right? The average time in hours a listing takes, yeah? And then you times that by maybe 10, 15 listings that you've got to manage at a time, so that you've not got just one client at a time, because that would be a nightmare. I've worked out roughly an hour prospecting it, right? That might be 5-minute calls across months. It might be half an hour to get yourself in the living room. Who knows? But I thought it'd be a good exercise to start, just working it all out. Appraisal prep, at least an hour. The appraisal itself, at least an hour. Appraisal follow-up, most likely an hour, because you've got to prepare the proposal, you've got to send it, you've got to do a couple of follow-up calls over a couple of days. Then you've got the floor plan, the pictures, and writing the details, a couple of hours, hour at the house, hour getting ready to launch. Viewings, 3 hours, assuming 10 viewings and 15 minutes each, plus a 30-minute second viewing. A lot of assumptions here. I get that. Bear with me. Client contact, right? Assuming, I'm talking proper client contact, 30 minutes of every Monday at the very least, with a full market review every week of what's been reduced around you, what's come on around you, what's sold around you, all that kind of stuff. 20 minutes of research and 10 minutes of a little update on the phone or a Loom video that you're going to send to them. Negging, it's like pie in the sky, but maybe an hour. Some you do in one conversation. Some you've got to kind of neg over 3 weeks. And then here's the interesting one, right? Progressing, and that's assuming, I forgot to write down what I was assuming. I was assuming half an hour a week, but it's average of 12 weeks to get an exchange. Yeah, so to proper progress, call both solicitors if you sent them that paperwork yet. Lender down valuation, trying to solve that. That's 19 hours per listing. Do you see what kind of track I'm on here? And then an average 8-hour working day, if you want to kind of not bust your bollocks, that's 2.5 days of time per listing. Now, the issue with that 2.5 days, in my view, which is why you've got to be really careful when you go into a estate agency, in my view, thinking you can fit it around the kids, is I get it, because it should be possible. But when somebody is only in the area at 3:15 when you're picking your kids up, you can't work the hours that you want to work, because you don't want to do the viewing at 3:15 unless you want to use people like Viewer, which costs money, or you've got a team around you like a viewing specialist team that costs money. So 15 listings is like 35.5 days managing the listing to get it sold. And you'll turn your average days on market. I know you Aussies are hot on that. Let me stop this share screen, because that's what I was trying to get across, is like, you can't say, I'm only going to do, I want the next 3 Saturdays off. Like, it's just not possible unless you want to pay for it to have the time off.
I think, sorry about the sirens going past my house. It's just, right. This is where, it's just a common staple of me on a webinar.
What have you done this time?
It's never for me, unfortunately. Yeah, maybe the old me. The Saturday thing, I'm going to start on the Saturday thing and work my way backwards through that if I can. There's nobody that gets into property and says, I won't be working the Saturdays. That's not the issue when people say they don't want to work the hours. It's everyone assumes they're only going to work Saturday. And they don't want to work Sunday afternoon. They don't want to work Monday. They don't want to work Tuesday. They don't want to work Wednesday. They just want to be like, yeah, I'll come see you then. Yeah, no problems. All they want to do is do the appointments. They want to go and list stock, and they want to go and sell it. And they want to go and let it. They don't want to do any of the groundwork that gets them there. They don't want to invest any time in actually building relationships and learning about people and giving them some value. They just care about this because they're promised, coming back to where we started this conversation, they're all just promised that they're going to make shitloads of money.
Yeah.
No one talks about, actually, you're going to help loads of people. And I know that there's going to be people watching this that sounds cliche, but I love cliches because they hang around for a reason. Your job is there to serve. Your job is to be the conduit of information. If you're a good estate agent in your community, you know everyone in your community. You know all the business owners. You know all the homeowners. You know all the tenants. You know the school teachers. So when something happens, you get to connect the dots. If someone needs something, you can provide that need to them, even if it's not selling their property. The end goal is that one day you get to walk into their house unopposed, sit down and say, this is the strategy to get the most money possible for your property, and it's 2% to use me.
Yeah.
Now, if you don't do that, you get to walk into their house and you sit down and you say, well, I'm just like Barry and Dan and Sally up the road, and they're 1.75. So don't worry, for you guys, Perry and Tash, I'll do it for you for 1.25. How does that sound? Because there is no relationship, because you haven't bothered to pick up the phone. So you haven't earned the right to charge a high fee. And you're probably not a very good agent because you haven't done any of the core work. You haven't invested in yourself. You haven't done any training. You think negotiating is just having a game of fucking offer tennis between owner and seller, right?
Between two parties.
What's the mark for? 450. I will offer 400. Cool. Hey, Perry and Tash, they offer 400. It's a no. Guys, it's a no. Sorry. What do you want to do?
Yeah.
And then you call and they say, well, think about it. You call them back and you say to the seller, I tried to get them up. No, you didn't. You said they said no to your offer, and that they said they'd think about it, and then you wanted to be a hero, so you called your seller and you're like, yeah, I tried to get them up, they're thinking about it, it's cool, bravado on, 3-piece suit, all that sort of shit. This is now a different tact to talking about can you work the hours that you want to work, but it's endemic of the industry, right? People don't think about it in that way. Everybody just thinks that a lot of people who work in our industry, self-employed or otherwise, are unfortunately glorified door owners, and they operate like car salesmen. They throw in stuff to get the deal because they need to get the unit sold. They just treat themselves like the unit. And
I think, the good thing is, I totally get you. I'm all for our industry. The majority needs to change, but luckily there's a real wave of minority which are really starting to shape UK estate agency, which I love. Like, there's a lot of people in this mindset that we're talking about right now, but there's still a lot that aren't, and that's the issue, isn't it? Which hopefully little things like this, the little lives in that, will really help. I'm going through the comments quickly because I think I love Tom and I love Michael. I love everyone, really. I love you and all. And he said really a good comment. Can I show it on there? There's a good one. This is good, this StreamYard stuff, isn't it? He basically said, so I'm going to say yes and no. So he's basically exactly what you've just said. Anyone who thinks they can be a 250k a year income generator on part-time hours is going to be wrong unless working in a high-end market. Totally agree with that. But honestly, I believe that a well-skilled agent with a plan and commitment to being effective with their time and structure, I'm all over that. I'm like about discipline and structure. Doesn't have to work the agency just from 9 till 6:30. Now, I can really relate to that because I've decided that I don't start work till 10 o'clock. And, well, I wake up and the first thing I do when I open my eyes is check my emails, like before I even got my ass out of bed. But, which I know you shouldn't do, but I don't get going properly because I've decided with lockdown, the benefit of the back of it is going to be that I'm going to spend a bit more time in the mornings with my kids rather than because I'm not spending as much time in the evenings because I work a bit later.
Hold that thought. I'm going to check my bread.
Yeah, check the bread out. And let me get another comment on screen while you're doing that, because Michael's had a really good point for you guys that are still watching. For me, the answer depends on fee, structure, model, plan of attack, and whether you're... Is it cooked?
It's now going to brown. I'll show it to you. We'll keep talking for at least another 10 minutes just to prove Tash. All right, I'll show Tash because then she'll start making bread, and you'll love it.
Michael was saying, I just think it's that, to summarize, right? Like, so we've got a fantastic agent, Nicole, right?
She's awesome.
And she manages to do a lot. And she came to us a couple of years ago, and she was always had a passion for property. And for her, can I say too much? Yeah. I mean, it's been on Facebook. She bossed. She beat cancer, right? And it had a right life moment for her. And I totally get it. I'm sure lots of people have gone through it, where she used to be like a senior manager for Starbucks. And she was like, I've had a bit of a life epiphany. I just really love property. She had a really good background and pedigree. But, I've also learned through what I've been through to appreciate life a little bit. And as much as I want to enjoy my time working or doing something to generate income, I also want to spend time with my kids that are getting older, which I almost didn't see them, for the rest of their life. So she's got her structure down to a T. Like, she has Wednesdays off. a big thing that we do is that as soon as agents at a certain capacity, we layer on their viewing support for them, so they do get 2 days of recuperation, Saturday, Sunday. I do think 2 days together make a huge difference to recuperation versus 1 day from a performance perspective. And so, she's managed to get her structure down to like four very productive days. And you know what? She's just brutal on her fees. Brutal to the point that, because she'd never done it before, she didn't come to us with a preconception that, I can't quote more than 1% because they'll kick me out the door. She was like, it's 2% with a 20% kicker. And that was normal to her. And that's just worked with her structure, the way she's delivering her fee. She's obviously sticking to the Power Agent content, little plug there. It's really important to get structured, but manage your life and your clients, more importantly, around that structure that you set as non-negotiable.
Yeah.
She tells them quite openly, here's my schedule. I'm massive sharing your schedule with clients up front and saying that Monday's my client contact day. I will be in touch, but the phone will be glued to my ear for most of the day. Fridays, I'm with clients. It's really prospecting day, but you don't need to tell clients that you're too busy prospecting new clients to take their call. But by the time you're getting focused on prospecting, they ain't gonna need to update because you would have updated them on Monday. Blah blah blah. So I think it's getting clear and being realistic. Don't like Tom said. Don't expect to earn 200 grand a year working just mornings and not afternoons. And if you're getting into a strategy for that reason, then as you've said, I think you're in it for the wrong thing, and you should go and do something else.
I want to come back to Michael's comment, and for anybody who doesn't know Michael Bailey, he is an example of a self-employed agent that you would want to follow and copy, because the guy, talking about work-life blend, he enjoys what he does. So I'm sure there are days where it doesn't feel like he's working. I'm sure there's days where it does, Mike, as well. But everything he does is towards a common goal. It's serving his vision for his life, for his family's life, for what he deems is important. And some days it's taking photos, some days it's talking about the market. I would imagine every day it's talking to people in his database or in his marketplace, because that's going to serve him moving forward. But I think it was him that made a comment about you can earn X a year without working the 9 to 6:30 traditional hours. Now, those hours exist to trap people within those businesses.
Yeah.
Like office hours exist. And we've just gone through this. I have had to have my entire belief system around offices challenged over the last 4.5 months, because we've all been working from home. But we've been pretty productive. Our communication levels have dropped off over time, and we've had to consciously bring them back up, because there is only written or verbal communication. So you can't see if someone's hung up the phone and had a shit call, or if you don't see somebody walk in not with the same level of energy. So you don't have that intuition to ask if someone's okay, or pull them aside, or take them out for lunch, or grab a coffee or something like that. But we've had to challenge our own beliefs about what people can actually achieve in their own time, and they don't need to be somewhere at 8:45 and leave at 5:30 and things like that. And believe me, wages, particularly low wages and low commissions and long office hours, serve nobody. Least not serve the companies that are doing it, because you end up just locking people in a room all day, and you'll be lucky to get 2 good hours of work out of them every day anyway. And the rest of the time, they might be fighting around on Reapit or their CRM looking for something, or if you haven't banned them from surfing the internet because you're so militant like that, they might be on Facebook, or they might be looking at the news. I used to love reading the news every morning, because it would give me something to talk about with the people who are also reading the news. So I was able to relate. If they asked me a question about what's happening in the world, I could answer it. I don't read the news so much now, because I bought into that belief that it kind of like fucks with your mindset, and I think that it does. But who would have thought? I still find out about all the important stuff that's going on, because people read the news and they tell you. So if we're talking about, can agents have a successful career, and let's move it away from money and focus on what they deem as success. If it's money, great. If it's service, great. If it's number of deals, fantastic. If it's lifestyle and hours worked, and that's what's important to you, great. You can certainly achieve all of that without working 9 to 6:30. It's about, and this comes back to Nicole's point, it comes back to what you fill whatever time you decide to work with. I know you do your client contact on a Friday, you do your vendor follow-up on a Monday, and I mean this in the nicest possible way. I don't necessarily agree with that. But again, you and I are allowed to think differently on some things. I'm a massive believer in having a structured, like, ideal day. So in its simplest form, the way that I still work now, but that I learned to work in real estate, was prospecting in the morning, marketplace in the afternoon. So to come back to your point of, if you pick your kids up at 3:15 every day, but that's the only time that person can view that flat, horseshit, that's the only time they can view that flat. Sorry, I'm picking up my kids. That's my priority in my life. I can show you at 3:45, I can show you at 4:15, or I can show you at 2:30 what's going to suit you better. That person wants to go through the door, and you articulate to them with enough empathy, and you tell them why you can't do it, not just, sorry, can't see at 3:15, which is what so many agents do. That person's going to understand, and they're going to book in a different time. So you can still go and pick up your kids. But if you're, let's use Nicole as an example, 4 days a week, if you spent 2 hours in the morning, and not even 2 hours, it's 90 minutes, 2 45-minute blocks prospecting, calling people that you already know that haven't come to market yet, and telling them what's happening in the market at the moment. It's the busiest market we've had in 5 years. We've listed this many, we've sold this many, there's 3 on your street, available right now. I will let you know the moment they go under offer, even if they're not with you. If you do that, and I always talk to 20 people every day, but if you do that twice a day for 45 minutes, 4 days a week in Nicole's instance, or 5 days a week, probably what Michael Bailey or anyone else watching this does, then you get the opportunity to work the hours that you want to work. And then in the afternoon, I promise you, you're going to have 3 listing appointments, 2 buyer appointments, whatever it is, to the point then where you get busy enough and you've got to look at either getting a viewer, a VA, a PA, however it is moving forward,
Yeah, that's also something, that's really important to say, that you definitely can shape. You can work any hours you want. Like, if you don't want to do viewings at weekends, like, let's go back to my early days of starting Power Bespoke, and I had my my oldest son's 11 now, and I was separated from his mum, and every other weekend I had him, and that was so I had every other weekend I had a viewing specialist. So the business could still do viewings, but then you start paying for team members around you, which when you get to a certain level of 9 months down the line, hopefully income's coming in, listings and appraise, it's all starting to flow a little bit like it should, because you're being structured to do all the crucial things of prospect, list, service and sell. Then you will start scaling and you can start adding to your team. I think it's this mindset of I'm a self-employed agent, and because I'm self-employed, I can work the hours I want. That is the problem, I think, out there at the minute, that in my view, if you're a proper agent, you're working the hours you need to serve your clients' needs. And if they need to see you at 8 o'clock at night, because that's when they're both home. I used to do my best work at night. I used to save all my client contact calls to 8 o'clock at night, so that they're like, Jesus Christ, Perry, that's remarkable. Yeah, so sorry, I've been so busy all day with back-to-back viewings. But it maybe wasn't the case at times. It was just literally, I thought, I'm going to be overly impressive to these guys, and I'm going to call them at 8 o'clock at night.
The key point about what you're making there is they probably couldn't have had the same level of depth of conversation with you if you called them at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, because they're at work.
Exactly.
I think some of the best relationships that I've built with even agents since we've been doing this home search thing is I'm sitting there watching Champions League, and I know that I've talked to people who like football, and so I just send them a message. It's got nothing to do with home search, but I'm showing them that their business matters to me secondary to the fact that I want to have them in my life. Does that make sense? And if that's the mindset that I had as an agent, you would talk to people. If something happened in someone's road, you don't have to call them up and say, hey, it's Sam from Harcourts. Did you know that 13 Florence Street was just listed for offers over 720? But you can send a message. It's like, Florence Street's in the market. That's pretty cool. I'll let you know as soon as it goes. And genuinely, you're talking to them like you already have the pre-existing relationship. And then if they decide, Sam, can we have a chat about this? And it's at 8 o'clock at night, you have a choice to make. Do you want the business after doing all the work to get the relationship in place, or do you want to lose it to somebody else? Give me 2 seconds. I'm just going to check my bread again.
Yeah, go and check it. And while Sam's doing that, I think one of the hot things that I've...
All right, we're not quite there, but we'll get close.
That was quick. Jesus.
It's only there. I'm literally sweating my ass off sitting in front of my oven to make sure that it doesn't work. It doesn't overcook.
There for a minute. Yeah. I think also what I'm really hot on at the minute is... I believe I'm really hot on the 4 touches before you knock on the door when you go to an appraisal, and really hot on it. As in, if you ain't done it, you ain't getting the instruction. If you do it, you probably, I need to work this out, but I'm pretty certain you probably got something like a 40% higher chance of of winning the listing, forgetting the fee for a minute. I know it's a big claim, but I know for a fact that 80% of appraisals that are booked in, you literally see it in your diary, turn up on the day. Hey, John, like I'm really hot on the minute it gets booked. You straight. We've set up our new Salesforce CRM, right? So the minute our office team book an appraisal, Salesforce pings an SMS to the agent saying, "Hey, you've had a new appraisal booked for Mr. Smith." And with his phone number in it. So it's literally ping, tap. Hey, Mr. Smith, I'm out at the minute. I can't see when I'm seeing you because I've not got my diary in front of me, even though the Salesforce app is mental. But just wanted to quickly say hi. So you got my mobile number. If you've got any questions in the lead up to the appointment, I'm always available. That's one. The night before, 9 o'clock, got to be a text message because you don't want to call someone at 9 o'clock. Hey, John, it's Perry. Just checking in to make sure you're still good for tomorrow. Yeah, really good, Perry. Thanks. Awesome. See you then. The morning of, hey, John, I'm just doing the prep quick for your appraisal. Is yours the one with the green garage or the blue garage? Whatever you're going to use, And when you knock on that door, so much more powerful to say, lovely to speak to you again. And then you're walking in because you can't say, lovely to see you again. But just that whole, you've already shown me the level of contact.
There's and interestingly, remind me to come back to client contact once a week off the back of talking to them 4 times in 24 hours beforehand, and how there might actually be a disconnect there that would worry me if I was the seller.
Right.
But I want to, like, everything you've just described, I would call a pre-list kit. We used to have, everybody knows Matt Steinwade, and I remember my very first ARIC that I went to was the first one that he spoke at back in 2011. And he got up on stage and told everybody how he won the business before he walked through the door, because the moment somebody booked in an appraisal with anybody in his company, within 1 hour, they had a pack delivered at their door from his PA or someone in their business that explained who Matt Steinwade was, has a market report in it about their property, some information about the office, testimonials from him, and a pack of chocolates, a business card. And so my first probably 6 months as a PA, I worked with this guy called Bruce McIntyre when I started, was he'd book an appraisal because all he did was prospect 2 hours every morning. First thing he did was ring people. And everyone was like, yep, come and see me. I'd build these cardboard boxes called blue boxes. And we put in, we used to call it a brag book, which is a book of testimonials. And then a CMA, comparative market analysis, like a sales market report, a little blurb on Bruce, an introductory letter. That introductory letter is still what we use for our home search reports now because it works so well, and I ended up writing it. And within an hour, I'd be on their doorstep in my suit and tie, being like, hi, it's Sam from Harcourts. I'm Bruce's PA. I just wanted to deliver this for you. It's everything about us so that tomorrow or next week's meeting, whatever it is, can be all about you guys. No need for anything now. We'll see you soon. Goodbye. And he used to know, he used to freak out that I'd just blagged it and gone to McDonald's or something like that, because if he didn't get a message or a phone call from someone saying that's fucking epic, that's amazing. Thank you. No one else has done that for us. Then he'd think that I hadn't delivered it, because that would happen so often. You would just blow people away, and you walk in there and you sit down and we were 2.5% plus GST. So 2.75% total. You're selling stuff for 600, 700 grand. It's not a small amount of money. And there were cheaper agents out there that we compete against. But we'd win more often than not, and that's the apprenticeship that I served. And why all this stuff is so ingrained in my brain and in my heart, because I know how important it is. I know how it works. If I had my day again, I would commit to having something incredible and digital served to them, because I'm a bit of a lefty greenie. So I want to make sure, we would print off 35 pieces of paper every time we go and do one of these. And if you're doing 3 or 4 a day, you're wasting a lot for the environment. So I'd make sure that I had something exceptional, experiential, delivered to them instantly, the moment that it was booked, maybe 6 or 7 minutes later, but automate that 6 or 7 minutes so that it looks like you've clicked and sent them something. Because it matters, and it'd be a video. Hey, it's Perry from Power Bespoke. Thanks so much for speaking with one of the girls or whoever it was on there. I'm really looking forward to seeing you next week and Tuesday at this time, whatever. And you might actually record it to make it seem more authentic. You could talk about how hot it is or whatever it's going to be, but get it to them and then do everything that you're doing to follow up. And so I agree with you. If you're not doing any of that, you're doing yourself a disservice. That's what's costing you your fee, not your competition. It's not about fee. It's about what you offer. And then coming back to the point on client contact, I was appalled, and I still am to a degree, that there are clients in this country that only hear from their estate agent about feedback like properly once a week. Again, none of these ideas are mine. I just listen and learn and apply. And again, the first thing you hear from John McGrath, who is the godfather of real estate in Australia, when you get in there, you go and you read his book, or you look at his TED talk, or you look at his ARIC talks, and he talks about the surefire way to 10x your business is first thing every morning, drive around your patch and call your seller every single morning. Every client you have. If you only have one, it's one phone call. If you have two, you have two phone calls. But you continually drive. You do it in your car. Yeah, you do it in your car because you're focused when you're in your car. You can't be distracted. It's the best place to have really courageous and crucial conversations with people. And you call your vendors every single day because they know that they're the first thing doing every day, so they know you care. And when they know you care, then they know you're not trying to pull the wool over their eyes when you ask them to drop the price or invest more in marketing or do anything to change the business,
So I definitely, and I'm God's honest truth here, I'm an every client, everyday person, but it might just be a message in the WhatsApp group every day.
That's fine. The thing is, it's got to be every day though. That's the thing. Sunday's fine, but it should be every day, particularly if nothing's happened. The best thing you can do when you have a day of no inquiry on a property is tell your vendor, we haven't had any inquiry today.
Well, this is my biggest gripe with estate agents, right? And it ties into what you were saying, is that they only update on the big events, right? They never update on the fact that just had a call about your place. I've just sent them the particulars by email. I tried to get the viewing for Saturday, tag on to the next one, but they said they got to check the husband to call me back. I've scheduled to call them back tomorrow afternoon. I'll let you know how it goes. That is like, whoa, cheers for that, Perry. Whereas a lot of people would just only let clients know when they've confirmed the viewing. And with new communication technology, and this comes back to, can you work the hours you want? I think if you use technology in the right ways, you can be more effective with your time, so you're not feeling like you're working. I use voice notes a lot in my client WhatsApp groups as well, which sometimes do a little selfie video. So it's I don't know. I guess we're waffling a little bit, but I just think to kind of start as we ended, to end as we started. Absolutely. I think the answer to that question, can forgetting self-employed or employed, like can estate agents work the hours they want? I think it comes down to two things. One is what you define as work, and two, why would you not want to work as an estate agent consistently all the time? It's because you've got technology now that you can just bang a quick voice note on a Sunday afternoon just because you've just seen an inquiry drop in, I've left him a message and I haven't heard back. I'm a massive fan of, if it doesn't need a full-on conversation, don't waste the time having a full-on conversation. Because when you ring someone, you've got to do the fluffiness and the niceties, and because then it's like, and whenever we use the phone at Power Bespoke, I talk about 75% fluff, 25% task at hand. So you wouldn't ring someone and be like, got an offer. You're like, hey, John, how you doing? How's your weekend? Weather's amazing, isn't it? But, oh, by the way, blah, 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 blah. So I think, answer is there is no right or wrong answer. It's just about understanding the client's needs and delivering them.
I would, next time you guys have an offer, I would advise you to text them first that you have an offer. So if it's 4:45, right? You can just be like, I just received an offer on your place. I can't talk at this minute, but I'll call you at 5:15, right? Because what you're doing is you're putting your client in the mindset to not have the fluff conversation, for the next 31 minutes, they're going to be thinking, fuck, what's that offer? Is it going to be good? Is it going to be bad? And then if they're motivated, they're already in the mind of we're moving. So regardless of what that offer is, it's going to be an easy negotiation. If it's close, it's going to be a yes. If it's far away, it's going to be more realistic of what we need to do. Whereas if you just call them and you're like, hey, guess what? Got an offer. They haven't had the chance to go through those motions yet. So tee up every crucial conversation you're having, tee it up. It's like you don't spring a wedding on Tash. You propose to her first and you let her get in the mindset for what she wanted for the wedding, everything like that. For the big important things, you want to let people gear up to it, not just dump it on them.
There's some really good comments here as well, because this Nick has said, let me try and bring it into the stream. How's your bread?
Let's bring everybody in.
Hey, love that.
Good. Good.
Nick has said, love what you do what you love. That's a lovely saying, I think. Absolutely. Can't claim credit for that, but it's a valid point in this career. Also, I feel it's a lifestyle, not a job. Totally with Nick on that.
Yeah.
another good saying that springs to mind for that kind of question, I guess, and it comes back to depends what your classes work and depends what else you want to work, is that I guess you can't have a what's that saying, like $1 million dream with a $10 mindset, like and work ethic. I think the whole word work is getting very
there's a difference between a job and work, I think, and that's a pretty important distinction to make. Like one of the how do I say this without swearing? So one of the things that I talk about when we bring people into our business is that the more serious you take your work rather than your job, the more enjoyable your life becomes, because everything starts to take on a little bit more meaning. You can associate it to life goals, personal goals, professional goals, and particularly an agency. When you realize that every day you get an opportunity to change somebody's life, and that's not meant to be an airy-fairy comment. That's the reality of what you do. If you're shit at your job, you cost people thousands of pounds. You might stop their children going to nicer schools. You know what I mean? You actually, you put a hurdle in their life. So start taking what you do more seriously, because it is serious to them, so it should be serious to you as well. When you start doing that, the work becomes so much more enjoyable. You actually want to do it more, which comes back to maybe you do want to work more hours. Maybe you do want to make another phone call. Maybe instead of just prospecting on a Friday, you want to allocate 2 hours every day or 3 hours every day because you want to scale that business and grow something mega valuable, like Michael was saying before. But suddenly your life has a little bit more meaning, so you don't want to sleep in every morning to 10 p.m. or 10 a.m. or whatever it is. Now, not to say that starting at 10 a.m. is whatever, because I agree. I'm better when I have meetings at 10 o'clock than I am at meetings at 8 o'clock. 100%. But I'm trying to improve on that sort of thing, because I think that that's probably just up here rather than it is anything else. But the more you take it seriously, the better everything in your life's going to become. It's like when you're a young guy and you think you want to be out there like shagging loads of girls, and you end up just meeting lame girl after lame girl after lame girl, and you're not loving it all. And you're just like, shit, I'm never going to actually meet anyone. And then suddenly you think to yourself, all right, I'm going to try a little bit harder with the next one. And that turns into a relationship because you've invested more. You've given it more meaning. You've tried harder. And now you've seen that and reciprocated that back to you. It is exactly the same in business.
Yeah. Let me see that other comment. Love what you do, because we're approaching an hour, so we might have to. And your bread, you're gonna cook your bread, and it's gonna be stone cold when you eat it.
It's got to cool down yet, so it stays crusty, so it's fine.
Another comment. I think you won't start to work less, but you just do more of what you want. Better clients, fees, property types, rather than switching to 3 days a week. Yeah, that's a really nice look at it. And the work all the hours under the sun, and so you can choose what clients or you work with, I guess. That's a really good one. I like that. This is a big one. The office hours are important for sales progression, but get that totally. But outside office hours are equally as important to service clients. As in, I'll bring it in actually. And so you can tell why I prefer audio books, can't you? As being available to a viewing at 7 p.m. Bearing in mind most buyers work office hours. Yes, that's the kind of, if you want to kind of duck out for a couple of hours to go to the gym like 2 till 4, then that's totally cool, because that's the world we live in. But then you might be doing viewings from 6 till 8.
For sure. That's going to benefit your business as well, though, because you're going to be re-energized to go and see those people at night. Whereas if you just sat in your ass all day, got McDonald's for lunch, whatever it is, then you're going to roll into them without that energy. So to me, that's the blend. To go back to end as we start, that's part of the blend. All of that does is it reinforces the choices that you're making, the decisions. I want to be really good at real estate, So part of working the hours that I want is working on myself, training, mind and body, Yeah,
it's like the other night I signed up to that masterclass, Chris Voss, masterclass.
Yeah, nice. Yeah.
It's so good. And I was sitting there watching it. Me and Tasha got this little pact, because now that I've got this new home office, I kind of find myself sitting here until silly o'clock at night. So we've got this little thing where I sit here from like 9 till 11, because I like doing a bit of personal development in the evenings, and I was watching that masterclass, and then I go in at 11, we do an hour of our Netflix or Amazon season that we're watching, and we go to bed at midnight. which that's why I don't start till 10. But my best hours, that 9 till 11 is where I'm developing myself, and that's how I like to work. So, Andy Overman says 2 man crushes, 1 live. Love you, man.
Thanks,
Josh Rayner's in the house. Honoured, the legend that is Rayner. I think the real thing here is about working with the clients you want as a self-employed agent, rather than a high street agent who works with whoever they get instructed by. If you work with the right client, then it doesn't feel like work. Yeah, and that is so right. But I've also got to say that in your early days as a self-employed agent, you work with the clients you can get. Let's not beat around the bush for a minute.
I think there's yes and no. So again, you've got to set yourself, what standard are you willing to accept on fee, on client, on anything? I had a chat with a guy on the office on Wednesday. Asian Snowburn's really good agent, and in this market doing exceptionally well, was doing really well when it was tough, but has just now started to get the overvalue under fee rebuttal, and he's been pretty solid at 1.75%. And he's saying, everything's been agreed, but they were just like, we know it's going to sell, so we'd rather pay 1%. We don't actually think that there's anything different. Like, there's going to be 3 people based on what you guys have all told me, and I sort of said to him, did you just say, and I went back and I asked him the questions, like, did you just say there's going to be 3 offers on your house, or did you determine that your strategy is going to produce 3 offers? And I think there's an element of him slipping back into that easy market mentality as well, rather than making it about the process rather than the market, which is what everyone's doing, which is why it became about fee. And I said, what'd you do? And he's like, I ended up doing the fee. I said, cool, go back to them if it happens again, and just make sure that there's options. So this is what all new agents, I think, should be doing. If you have to cut your fee, to make sure you've got a board out the front, give yourself, firstly, limit the amount of time you're going to do it. Is it 3 months that you're willing to negotiate on your fee, or to welcome any fee that you can get, which is a better way of, I think, looking at it, or is it 6 months, or whatever it is? And then by doing that, what do you get in return? So do you get 1 referral within that 90 days? Do they know their job, because you're going to do it for 1% for them, and your fee is 1.75 or 2%? Their job is then to refer you to somebody else within the next 90 days, just one other person, because then suddenly it compounds and it goes up again. And then that next person, their job is to do that. Or are there other caveats, like they've got to leave you 2 Google reviews, one at the start, one at the end, or they've got to make sure they introduce you to their friendship circle, or whatever part of their community groups they might be involved in, or are you going to do an onward negotiation as you guys do? So don't just cut your fee in half to win the business. Have a reason for doing it, and have them give you back something, because then it becomes almost like a fair trade for an early agent. I think then once you've earned the right, and you've got stock on the board, and you have experience, and you can actually talk on stories, and you can give examples of people who were presented with lower fees, they went with you, they still end up with more money, then you decide for yourself whether you walk away or not. That is an incredible way to end this amazing session, Sam. That's well good. And it wasn't like, I think, I messaged you, didn't I, saying there's a little topic I want to talk about. I'm just getting a bit sick of all this airy fairy stuff. But everyone's got their own motivations, and anyone that's attracted to earn as much or as little as you want by being an estate agent, I think there's a bit of an underlining money motivation there, which doesn't fit well with me. But it's been a good sesh. We ain't caught up for ages. It's been way too long. So thanks for joining me on the little live. Pleasure. And everyone needs to have a wicked weekend. And if you go to Brighton, wave to me while you're driving past, because I won't be far away from you. And take care, man. Enjoy your bread. And everyone, thanks for joining the live. Yeah, I hope there was some value. Thanks for having me, man. Appreciate it. I know for sure, man. There was loads of value added. So thanks for that. See you later. See you soon. Bye, mate.